Welcome back to Greg Plays Games. Want to just give a huge thank you to all the new subscribers. Our top 10 Nintendo Switch videos has helped the channel grow, not by a ton, but definitely our most viewed video, and definitely some extra subscribers. We're getting really close to 50, so if you're watching this video and like what you're seeing, well, I guess we're just starting, but if you like what you end up seeing, consider subscribing and liking the video. Today we are not discussing E3 rumors necessarily, but maybe some wild guesses for what we could see at E3. And I think first and foremost we have to address that there should be a Nintendo Switch Pro coming in this upcoming week, which will mean hopefully that we'll be able to play a lot of our pre-existing Nintendo games in 4K with the new console. Specifications are to be determined, but from what a lot of people are reporting, it seems likely that we will see 4K on the newest model, which would mean 4K for Animal Crossing. So if you're an Animal Crossing fan like myself, this is very exciting. This game is absolutely stunning visually, and just to have it in 4K is going to be even better. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. As you can see right now, we got some Animal Crossing footage. This is actually a continuation of my last video, just kind of completing up our baseball fields. I didn't want to make a dedicated video just to that because there really wasn't a ton left to do, and so I didn't have enough footage just to kind of put that out on its own. So I'm kind of slamming it in here with this hodgepodge of footage while I talk about some of the games I think we could see at E3. So I apologize if you came here exclusively for Animal Crossing content. You're kind of going to get hit with some extra content as well. So the number one thing, and I did try to keep my wild speculative guesses somewhat reasonable, but the likelihood of any of these I feel like is probably pretty low, mainly because I haven't heard anything of them from any news sources, and no one's really necessarily reported on them, but I just kind of thought it would be fun to speculate. So number one, I think we could see Zelda plus Rabbids Kingdoms battle. I know Ubisoft did Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom battle, which actually is incredibly fun. I recently got that on sale for $15, and I kind of like just got it just to try it since Mario was in it. Turns out it's super fun. I ended up buying the Donkey Kong DLC, and that kind of had me thinking, why wouldn't they consider Zelda, Legend of Zelda Rabbids Kingdoms battle? Tonally kind of different. I feel like Mario and Rabbids is a little more fitting, but I think a lot of people were shocked and very surprised when they heard about the Mario Rabbids Kingdom battle in the first place. So Zelda plus Rabbids Kingdom battle would be really interesting, especially to have turn-based combat with Zelda. It kind of reminds me of them kind of taking a creative step with Cadence of Hyrule, which I actually never got around to playing, unfortunately. It's definitely on my list of games to play, but Zelda plus Rabbids Kingdom battle would be super awesome, especially being able to do turn-based in Hyrule. The Rabbids, I'm not a huge fan of that, but they do actually do a good job of implementing them along with the Nintendo characters. So this is probably the most unrealistic one out of all of these, mainly just because I don't know that they would pair those two things together, but it would be really neat to see. Number two would be Nintendo Karts. A lot of people have talked about new Mario Karts, which would probably include an extended roster like we kind of saw in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So this isn't necessarily a wild guess, but it would be really cool to see them take a Smash Brothers approach to Nintendo Kart, and I really feel like it would kind of push that franchise into the next level, even though it already is their number one selling game, essentially. So I don't think it needs much help, but that Nintendo Kart would help them reach even more audiences that necessarily wouldn't be inclined to play it in the first place. Number three would be a new 2D Mario, but taking an open world approach to 2D Mario. I've not really played a ton of 2D Mario games. I am aware that they are all pretty linear, maybe with the exception of some of the Paper Mario games. I don't know. If you've played Paper Mario, go ahead and roast me in the comments. But I think it would be interesting to see them take 2D Mario into like a Metroidvania style, sort of like Hollow Knight, or insert other Metroidvania 2D game. I'm kind of drawing a blank. Well, Metroid, obviously. But I think it would be kind of interesting to see them do something new and creative with 2D Mario, especially since the most recent thing we got was Super Mario Maker, which was more or less Nintendo telling us to go make our own Marios. And I don't love that game. I did play the story mode, and the Nintendo made levels are really good. But that 2D Mario, I think, could really use some fresh ideas and creativity, and I don't think that we'll get a 3D Mario this year, just because we're getting a 3D Zelda. I mean, we always could get a 3D Mario, but I think it would be really interesting for them to find a new creative way to do 2D Mario. Surprisingly enough, I could see them doing this with the new Donkey Kong game, kind of taking this approach. So maybe that idea is transferred over there. Number 4 would be Earthbound 3D. It was at one point in the works by Nintendo. It is not a franchise we hear of or hear from, if at all. The most we hear from it is when Nintendo decides to re-release the pre-existing games, which I cannot believe we still don't have on Nintendo Switch Online. But it would be really nice to see something new from that franchise, especially since it is so strongly represented in Smash Brothers. Well, I guess I shouldn't say so strongly represented, but it is represented in Smash Brothers, and that's a franchise a lot of people want to play. And just doing something new with that would excite a ton of people. I think this is highly unlikely because they, haven't done anything new with that franchise in years. At most, we'll probably get a Nintendo Switch Online, and I don't even know if we'll get that. Number 6 is based off of an existing rumor, which is a new Kirby game, and the Kirby team has mentioned that it's going to be their biggest and best Kirby game yet. We don't know what that means. Does that mean it's going to be in 3D? Some people think so. I personally hope so. I don't know if that will be the case. And Kirby is not necessarily a franchise I've spent a lot of time with, but would be interested in playing if the right game came along. They just priced that game at $60, and I just can't pay $60 for a super easy 2D platform that's made for or directed towards children. But I would love to see them do an open world Kirby's Air Ride. I know Kirby's Air Ride on the GameCube was a super fun game, at least that's how my memory holds it. I played that with my siblings a ton, and it was just kind of really cool to just have full control and range of motion with Kirby, especially on those Air Ride or the star things. I have no idea what they're called. But yeah, I think that would be a really interesting way to reach new audiences with the Kirby game, because I think 2D games really turn a lot of people off. I could just be speaking for myself, but if you look at sales, 3D games tend to sell a lot better. Number 7? I don't even know what number I'm on. Insert numbers now because I lost track, so I'm not going to call the numbers out anymore. I obviously think we're due for a huge Animal Crossing update. I think that I should have probably talked about this from the jump, but with that 4K, I think Nintendo is really going to want to be pushing their new consoles, their new 4K consoles, I should say. And Animal Crossing was probably their biggest console seller. Part of it was timing because it happened right when COVID started hitting people the most, and I think people were the most sensitive to staying indoors, and so they were trying to occupy themselves. But that game was able to move consoles, and I think with a lot of new content, they'd be able to kind of make another push and use that title to try and make even more sales. Next on the list is Grand Theft Auto 5. I think it's only a matter of the console not being strong enough for Grand Theft Auto to not be able to make it so far, and with the opportunity of a 4K console, I think GTA 5 is going to run a lot better on this, especially in comparison to maybe if the new console is up to par with the PS4 and the Xbox One. I think it'd be really easy for the Switch Pro, or whatever it will be called, to run Grand Theft Auto 5. And Rockstar just loves selling that game any way they can. They're adding it to the next-gen consoles, the PS5, the new Xbox now. So it would kind of be aligned with Rockstar's strategies up until this point to include it on the Switch Pro. And that's a huge game that a ton of people play, so it just kind of makes sense that Grand Theft Auto 5 would be on there. And it'd also just be very fitting display of power for the new Switch console, so it makes a lot of sense to me. Honestly, that might be the most realistic prediction that I have, is having Grand Theft Auto 5, but we'll see. Number 9 is, or I think it's number 9, but it's going to be my guess for the Smash character, which relates to Animal Crossing. I think it's going to be Tom Nook. I think we will see more representation of the Animal Crossing franchise in Smash Brothers. So far we have a plethora of reskinned villagers. We have Isabelle, but we do not have Tom Nook. I don't believe he has an assist trophy. I could be wrong about that, but he is probably the face of the franchise in a lot of ways, and I think Nintendo is going to want to have him represented in Smash. So that is my prediction for this week. Why don't you guys drop me a prediction for what you think we'll see at E3? Only a few weeks left for the Nerd Super Bowl. I hope you guys are excited as more and more rumors come out. I am too. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you made it this far, definitely consider dropping a subscription if you have not already. We are so close to hitting 50. I think we're going to get there definitely within June. Fingers crossed. Thanks for checking out the video.